Okay, so the second type of course is what I labeled as concept-based training. And within a concept-based training, there are different levels too. And I'll go more into that as well. But at a nutshell, a concept-based training works like this. So I'm gonna switch my screen here so you can also see my iPad. And I'm gonna try to draw this. So this graph you're gonna see a lot in the course. And well, this one there's no arrow, but this is where these are concepts. And this is the difficulty level. All right, so if you look at any given course for any technology, there are a lot of concepts, and different concepts are at a different difficulty level. Some concepts are similar to another. So here, for example, here's a concept that's pretty easy to learn. Here is another concept that's kind of similar to this former concept. So I'll say this is concept 1, concept 2. And then, there may be, concept here, concept 3 that's kind of related to these. There may be another concept, let's say concept number 4, that's very difficult to learn. And it's kind of spaced a little bit far apart from 1, 2, 3, meaning it's not similar. This concept is a little bit different, kind of far away from the previous 3 concepts, and so forth. Okay. Now, for any given technology, it's interesting because if you were to actually go to the official documentation, and try to kind of lay out concepts in this, you will get something very interesting. For example, if you go into any programming language official documentation, or it could be any framework or library documentation, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of concepts introduced. They're not going to tell you the difficulty level. But anyway, if you were to draw it out, you will probably just look like a bunch of circles everywhere. Okay. Now I'll introduce some of these concepts later on, but again, all of these concepts are related. Some of these concepts are going to be really, really important. Some of these concepts are going to be what I call nice to knows. So nice to knows, let me say I highlight that in black. Some of the concepts are no need to knows, is the new kind of name that I came up with, which means you don't really need to know it. You probably won't use it ever. So if you look back in any technology that you mastered and then go back to the documentation, you will find that the concepts really can be broken down into those 3 buckets, right? Must to knows. So let's say these are must to knows. Nice to knows. And then no need to know. So kind of having that mindset, I think as a teacher is really, really important. Based on my experience, let me look at, PHP, Ruby, Python, Objective-C, C#, Java, let me think about all the frameworks that I've learned and I've taught. React, Angular, CodingNighter, Express, Laravel, Rails, Spring, .NET MVC, Core. I mean, when I look at all the things that I've learned and taught, and as I've seen my engineers use in my engineering team, generally about 10% of the concepts laid out in the official documentations are must-to-knows. It's used all the time to build, any given project in that technology. The must-to-knows are used to build about 99% of things. Yet, that's about, if I look at the full list of documentation, it's about 10% of the concepts. But the documentation has to be very comprehensive, right? Because they need to cover all these edge cases. Yet they don't tell you, these are the no need to knows, or these are the really, like what you have to learn these. They don't tell you that. So your job as a teacher is to figure out, among these concepts, which are the must-to-knows, which are the nice-to-knows, and which are no need to know. I'm going to go more in depth into each of the three buckets. But I wanted to kind of give this exposure down. Okay. So now let's go back into a concept-based course. So a concept-based course, a good concept-based course would go something like this. So again, y-axis is the difficulty level, right? And the x-axis is where we just cluster similar concepts together so that visually we can see. So a concept-based training, and again, there are different levels and varying degrees of concept-based training, because you will later learn that just because the course is concept-based training doesn't mean the course is effective. But let me give you an example of an effective concept-based training. It's where, for example, I introduce these 4 concepts. And then I say, okay, I want you to internalize these concepts. So I'm going to put an assignment number 1, where I'm not going to tell you how to do assignment 1. And in fact, I never showed you how to build anything similar to assignment number 1, but I've taught you all the key ingredients. So now it's up to you to connect the dots. And I don't even tell you how to connect the dots. I don't tell you, oh, you need to connect the dot this way, and then, to build assignment 1. Or I may not even tell you, oh, to do assignment 1, you really just need these 3 dots. I don't tell you. It's your job as a student to figure out how to connect the dots to build assignment 1. Okay, so anyway, concept-based training is like that. We do not connect the dots for the students, because that's tutorial-based training. Tutorial-based training, they connect the dots for you, so that you don't have to think. You just have to type, right? And in a concept-based training, they really have to understand the concepts, and they really have to think, because otherwise they can't build assignment 1. Okay, and then in concept-based training, I can teach another concept, let's say, that's a little bit more difficult. And maybe I teach another concept that's a little bit more difficult, but that's similar to the previous concept. And then maybe I do another assignment. And I do another assignment that covers this. Right? And then, I can go forward, right? I can say, do you know what? Okay, once that is done, let me then introduce some of these difficult concepts now that they got the foundation. And now let me do an assignment that where they have to leverage that. And then maybe what I will do is I'll then do another assignment, but where now they have to really leverage these 5 dots. Okay, so this is number 4 assignment. That's number 3 assignment. And then, I may say, you know what? Now that they've mastered that, now let me do another assignment where they actually have to build things connecting all the dots. And maybe they have to do a little bit of research, and they have to go find and learn additional concept. Maybe I'll give them a hint so that they, can get a little bit exposure on some of these additional concepts. Again, that's depending on the instructor. But anyway, a course that looks like this is a lot more effective because we're not connecting the dots. Okay, again, a tutorial-based training, how does it work? Oh, I am teaching you this, and then do this. And then now do this. It's connecting the dots for the students. So again, students do not have to think. If the student does not have to think, I mean, what are they learning? They're just learning how to type faster. And it's a finger exercise. Don't do that. Let's make our courses into concept-based training. Let's not connect the dots for the students. In the short term, students are going to love tutorial-based training because they feel like, oh, I'm making so much progress. Look at what I was able to create. But it doesn't lead to self-sufficiency. It's only through concept-based training that students gain self-sufficiency. Because look, how many developers become professional developers just only by watching thousands of hours of videos of tutorial-based training? It does not lead to good developer. Almost all developers would agree that you learn best by working on projects. I kind of agree, but somewhat disagree too. Is the people who say that is because they've only gone through tutorial-based training, and then when you have to work on a real project, The client's not going to come and say, oh, by the way, these are all the concepts you have to know. They're going to expect you to connect the dots. So if you're so used to tutorial based, once you become a developer, you're going to spend tons of time looking for other tutorials to build something that you need to create. But if you were trained through concept-based training, you have a lot of confidence. You know how to create anything because before you were creating things connecting 10 dots, 20 dots, 100 dots, 1,000 dots. It builds you that confidence that I can create anything I can think of. That's the self-sufficient developer that we want to create. And the only way to do it effectively is by creating a concept-based training. I just want to drill that. And I know a lot of times I'm repeating myself, but sometimes repetition is important to deliver the concept. If you're a teacher, I think you would agree. So just make sure you understand that. After you watch the video, go ahead and do a quick read on the text below, because as I find some new ways, I may add that in text, but I may not have time to update the video. Okay? All right.